Hello, everybody. I'm Kira Davis. Welcome to another live episode of the Orange Report. All the news and views you can use from around California and Orange County. You can follow us at the Orange Report OC on X and other platforms. Make sure you also follow me, Kira Davis, and go to justkiradavis.com to sign up for all of my brilliant thoughts on the interwebs. Welcome to today's show. I think the title explains itself. Everything is fake and gay. And I'm going to prove it to you. It's kind of funny. The kids say it. You see it a lot on TikTok or Instagram, but it's also true. It's funny because it's true. So just a few things were happening around California yesterday that sort of all converged into today's episode, what we're going to talk about today. I want to start out by saying this, though. I do believe we're on the precipice of something. If everything feels weird to you, if you have this strange, unsettled feeling like it's a little bit deja vu, right? If you're Gen X, you're probably feeling this sickness in the pit of your stomach, right? Because we've kind of been here. This is sort of the vibe it was right around 9/11. And then we got into a couple of endless wars. And I think a lot of us remember how odd and just unsettling things felt, and everything changed. And we sort of got used to things then. We got used to the TSA. We got used to having to welcome droves and droves of Muslims into our country. And now it's 2026, and here we are. We're back in the Middle East. It's feeling, we're nervous about the endless war thing. Actually, this is what makes me feel good about having Gen X in the White House. This is a Gen X White House. It's crazy to me that Sean Duffy is in the Department of Transportation. Sean Duffy is MTV, Real World, right? I grew up looking at Sean Duffy and his wife, Rachel Campos Duffy, on MTV. And now they're running the country. But I do think that bodes well for us, because I hear it when Pete talks, when Secretary Hegseth talks, when the Secretary of War talks, I hear it. He's like us. Hey, I came up through the 9/11 era. I am wary of endless wars as well. We do not want that. And so that is the thing that gives me hope. I'm not so much depending on Trump's judgment on this. I'm actually depending on them, because I know they're like me. And I can, when Secretary Hegseth especially talks, it's almost like I can see the pit in his stomach. Like, he's one of us. He gets it. It just, we don't want to get caught up in something that we can't control and just becomes a boondoggle. So that bodes well for us, but it is a weird time. And I just want you to know that, yeah, it's a weird time. This is not your imagination. There's a lot of things that are changing here. Before we get into what's going on here in California, I do want to break down just what's going on nationally or internationally, give you some things to think about and some reassurances. But here is what I think is happening, backed up by smarter people on the internet that I read every day. I know you're getting nervous about the other nations maybe not helping us out with Iran and helping us out in the Strait of Hormuz. I know it feels like, why is the UK turning their backs on us when we're just basically the only Western ally they have left outside of the European Union? And I always tell people, listen carefully to Trump when he talks. All right. Like, a lot of people stop at the expression, at the braggadocio. I don't find it to be braggadocious. I find, if you have the goods, then you can talk that way, right? If you are good at your job, you can brag about being good at your job. I have always thought Trump is just a New York guy. Just, if you know anybody from Jamaica, Queens, which is where he is from, he talks just like them. And people stop at that, and they go, oh, he sounds, why does he sound so awkward? He sounds so cringe. He sounds so crazy. No, he sounds truthful. And the truth doesn't usually come dressed up. That's why Obama was one of the most dastardly politicians we've ever had. He completely dumped us into this mess now. But worse than that, he gave us the sin of diplomacy. He gave us the hell of diplomacy. Buttoned up, as Joe Biden said, Obama's the first clean, articulate black man the Democrats have had in a while. Joe Biden said that. We erased it, or the mainstream media erased it, so that you Democrat zombies would go vote for him. But yeah, he said that about Barack Obama. And the reason he said that is because it was true. Because Barack Obama was a Trojan horse. He came, our Manchurian candidate, if you want to call it that. But he came in buttoned up, a suit and tie, educated lexicon, and talked about diplomacy and talked about being kind and shook hands and bowed to the leaders of foreign countries and told us that that was how America was going to be respected again. And you know what? Opposite. Sold us right down the river. It was the opposite. It turns out that diplomacy covers up lies. Diplomacy covers up sin and corruption. Diplomacy covers up human slave trades and trafficking children for satanic pedophile cults. Like, that's all the diplomats that are doing that. And they hold to the diplomatic rule of law, right? And socially speaking, it's the diplomats. You should be grateful for a person who sounds awkward when they talk to you, because at least you know what they're saying. And here's what I hear President Trump saying. We are no longer going to cooperate with other nations who forget about putting America first. We're the ones putting America first, who refuse to put their own nation first. We cannot be allies with a European nation that won't put their nation first. That's sort of the tacit social agreement that you have with allies on the international scene, that you're not the same culture, you don't hold all the same values, you don't have all the same laws, but you have a general unifying principle. You have general unifying qualities. In the West, we are defined by being Western culture. We don't talk about it anymore because we're not allowed to, but that's changing. But Western culture is Christian culture, not evangelical Christian culture, not Catholic culture, but culturally speaking. I'm not talking about your spirit inside or what you believe or not, but culturally speaking, Western culture is Christian culture. All the women's rights, all of that stuff, the right to own property, all of that stuff comes through the church, right? It was the church that was the Jesus that was the toppling factor in the way the world was. Now, we're baked in it now, so we just think that we came to these conclusions on our own because we're kind of brilliant human beings. We're all just really good inside at the end of the day. But no, actually, no. There's a great book by Tom Holland, not the actor, Professor Tom Holland. He has a lot of fun stories about getting fan mail for Tom Holland. He's like this old British pasty professor. He gets all of Tom Holland's love mail, but he wrote a great book called Dominion, and he I believe he became a Christian after he wrote the book. He just wrote the book as a historian. He's a historian, and he wrote the book because he thought there was something to be said for the Christianization of the West and how it is responsible for all of our modern, even our woke values. Like, that's where it comes from, and he became a Christian afterwards. But we're sort of baked in it now, but the West we have very unique unifying qualities. If we abandon those basic unifying principles, those people can no longer be considered our allies. You can still do business with them. We do business with China. We do business with Russia. We do business with all kinds of crappy dictatorships across the globe. It's not our responsibility to make sure that everybody's society is running properly. America first. It's not our responsibility. If us helping you run your joint over there helps us, great, we're going to do it. I think Trump's getting prepared to cut us off from the rest of the West. That's what I'm saying. I think that Trump's been setting us up from the start. There's a global caliphate coming. This is not a secret. It's just a secret to the mainstream media. We're just never allowed to put it out there. But now you have X, and now you have the internet and AI. Go ask AI what a global caliphate is. Ask them what the global intifada is. And you'll see, that's been coming for years. It's not a secret. Iran doesn't make it a secret. None of the people who perpetrate the global intifada, make it a secret. It's only guilty white liberals that don't like to talk about it. It's here. It's been coming, but Trump's the only person that's actually talking about it. I think we're getting ready to pull. I think this is a game changer. We're getting ready to pull our bases out of Europe. And then that'll be an earthquake. And I think he's getting ready to pull us out of NATO, because I'm not quite sure what value the NATO alliance gives us if they're not willing to do things like join us to protect the Strait of Hormuz to get all your oil through there without the dictators and the authoritarians and the creepy pedophile cult people stopping your ships. I think that's where we're heading. So this is what I want to tell you. Yeah, it is a weird time. If you feel weird, if you feel nervous, that's fine. Good. Pay attention. You don't need to live in fear. I don't live in fear, because ultimately I know who's in charge. They're the affairs of man and the affairs of God. We cannot run the affairs of God. We can only run the affairs of men. And that's what we try to do. That's what we're doing here on this show. And we'll do our part. But I do think it's going to be a time for choosing. So I want to encourage everybody to make a choice. I think the time is quickly approaching where you're not going to have the choice to be an atheist, to be disbelieving. You might choose the wrong God. But I do think we're quickly coming upon a time when it's going to be very obvious, as it is to the rest of the world. This is a uniquely Western point of view. Atheism, even like bleeding the spirituality. Every other culture recognizes the spiritual realm or the spiritual aspect to life. That's normal. And we're the only ones who don't. So I think we're coming to a time where you're going to have to pick. I can't choose for you. I suggest you pick Jesus. I think that's what you should do. You should probably just go get baptized. If you're not baptized yet, consider this your sign to go get baptized. Let's talk about how fake and gay everything is. All right. You know what? Let's start with number 2, Scott. This is from a podcast clip out of New York City, but it applies everywhere. If you guys heard heard the show on Tuesday, we're dark on Wednesdays. If you heard the show on Tuesday, we played a little bit from Nick Shirley's investigation. I mean, he's blown the lid off it, but James O'Keefe has also been here and he's done some stuff. Let's play this real quick. When you get it. Yeah. When you get it.
18% of all private sector jobs in New York City are to nonprofits. 21% of Brooklyn, nonprofits. 56% people of color, nonprofits. 34% of foreign-born are nonprofit workers, and 57% of nonprofit workers are under the age of 40. These are the exact demographics that voted Democrat between 75 and 85%. So what I want to ask you is, how much?
Did you hear what she said? Very disturbing. She looked into that. She's talking about NGOs. She's talking about non-government, and some of you might not know this, non-government operations. That's the charities, the 501c3s. That's what Elon was like bitching about when he got in with Doge. He was like, NGOs are running the world and they're running it off of our tax dollars. And she says, I dove into the numbers, and she says in the city of New York, just in New York City alone, 56% of NGO employees are Black. 56% of NGO employees are Black. 34% are foreign born. And these are the voting blocks that vote in near 100% numbers for Democrats. 57% are under 40. Another voting block. So this is the scam. And this is what Elon was trying to tell us. And it's still being dug up. Nick Shirley's doing this. We're going to talk about what O'Keefe uncovered yesterday. It's still happening. This is the scam. The government does NGO, like nonprofit. They grant nonprofit status. Democrat operative groups apply as nonprofit groups, and for everything and anything. Education, homeless services, whatever. And then they add an underlying political mission, even though technically speaking, you're not supposed to. They add an underlying political mission. Everywhere they go, they register voters. And do you think they're registering Republican voters? So then those tax dollars go to those Democrats to go register Democrat voters. But not only that, those tax dollars then in turn go to the programs that bring in the people running for Senate, governor. They funnel donations to them through those NGOs, and it's your money. Remember all of that stuff we heard about? You know, one of the things Doge found is that we were paying something like $18 million a year to a study in Africa on transgender mice, how to make mice transgender. We laughed at that. You know what my brain heard? Somebody thinks they can make you transgender. That's what I heard. Our government knows that you can be made transgender, right? They're actually giving people money to study it. So that's what I heard. But why Africa? You know? But that is, and then that crap comes back to us and our schools, confuses our kids. And we don't even know where this money is going. They are creating their own employment system. And when you register a voter into that employment system, who's the voter going to vote for? The people who are employing them. So you're either going to work for a government agency or you're going to be on the dole. That is the Democrat plan. And it's working. It's not an accident that Minnesota, why are Somalians in Minnesota? What business do they have there? Why are they there? You don't even know because you don't remember, you're young. I'm 51 and I was here when 9/11 happened. I watched the towers fall and then I watched our Republican administration, it wasn't the Democrats that did this, our Republican administration go, oh, we probably deserve that. Let's open the floodgates for Muslim immigrants. We'll take a lot from Somalia. And we don't want any of those immigrants from Cuba. We don't like them. We're going to cut them off, actually. If you're trying to escape communism in Cuba, forget it. We're not going to help you. We don't like that. Because Cuban refugees vote Republican because they freaking hate communism. But people from these other countries don't care about communism, capitalism. They have a whole different mindset. It's based in their faith. It's a conquering faith. So we have sold, and again, I want to point out that was a Republican administration that did that to us. That was George Bush who gave us Islam as a religion of peace. And now we're having to deal with all of this stuff that is not compatible with Western society. Well, that happened because we had to prove to the world that we weren't racist. We had to prove to the world that we didn't deserve 9/11. We opened the floodgates and we didn't vet any of those people. And where did they take those people? They didn't put them in New York City. They didn't put them in LA. They put them in Minnesota. Why would people from a sunny, hot climate in another country want to go to Minnesota in the hundreds of thousands to flip the state? Now, you saw Nick Shirley's investigations there. He's almost at $1 trillion in fraud uncovered in Minnesota alone. In Minnesota. And 98%, that's not a number I made up, 98% are registered to foreign-born actors. That's what he found there. And Minnesota has flipped. Now we think of Minnesota as a purple state. It is not. When I was a young mom just starting my journey, Minnesota was a deep red state. That's the goal. It's fake. That 13 million or 18 million or whatever to go to Africa for transgender mice, it's gay. Everything is fake and gay. Why are we giving foreigners money to study how to make mice transgender? Why has the number of transgender children jumped by something like 300% since 2021 in California public schools? By the way, public schools. This number does not correlate to private or homeschooled. Why? Because everything is fake and gay. The fake stuff is to vote those people in. The fake stuff helps those people get into office. And then they push the gay stuff on you. And I'm not saying gay people or whatever. Like, this is not about whether or not you should be gay or whether or not I care. Don't care. I couldn't care less. That's between you and your God. But why is it between you, your God, and my kids, my neighbor's kids? Why is it in the classroom? Why is it that only 17% of black children, period, black children, only 17% of black children in the state of California can read at grade level, but they all have to take the test on how many genders there are? Everything's fake and gay. Something's wrong. Something is wrong. And we can no longer avoid the tough conversations because we have spent the last 30 years being convinced that the tough conversations are cruel conversations. But there's a reason why society worked and then it didn't. And don't let anybody tell you, by the way, because some black people might want to, I probably will get some messages after this. They're going to tell me, when did you want to go back to when America's great, Kira? In slavery or during Jim Crow? No, I don't want to be in slavery, and I don't really like Jim Crow, although the Democrats seem to be making women have to deal with Jim Crow 2.0, making us second-class citizens while we have to welcome gross pervert men into our bathrooms and into our sports. And when we say, hey, I'm uncomfortable, or even worse, hey, some of us are being attacked by some of these men because it's actually not normal for a man to put on a dress. And if he wants to go see your daughter pee in a bathroom, that's really not normal. Some of us are getting attacked. And they tell us, did you know at the California State Capitol, seen it with my own eyes, folks, do you know the California State Capitol doesn't have women's bathrooms anymore? They have men's bathrooms and all gender. Women, you don't exist. They didn't take the men's bathrooms for the all gender. There's men's bathroom. You could walk into the rotunda. If you're up there in Sacramento today, do it right now. Walk into the rotunda, walk to the nearest restroom, and you're going to see a restroom for the men, a restroom for all gender, and no women's restroom. Everything's fake and gay. I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up. The only thing that's shocking people is that we're not allowed to say that out loud. But if you just, I want to encourage you to say it out loud, and don't let the shock value of the phrase stop you from thinking further on it. Like I do, it is pithy, right? But I do want you to think on it. Yeah, it kind of is. We know everything's fake. Let's go to number 3. Let's go to cut 3. James O'Keefe has been in Los Angeles. Now, he's been promising forever that he has uncovered the scandal of scandals in Los Angeles. And I got to say, I've known O'Keefe for years. He's every investigation he promises is the one that's going to blow the lid off something. So I never know what to believe. Now, a couple of his have. And to be fair, James, I see you out there, and I know that there's a lot of people who are sort of this next gen, second gen, coming up along doing the work that you were doing, and it might feel like, hey, I started this thing. We get it. But think of yourself as an inspiration, and he's still doing great work out there because he was, and you know what? You don't need to even play this. You can just show the video, and I'll read I'll just read his just scroll down, Scott, and let the video play while I read. So this is what he says on X. California elections fraud, cash for ballots, part 1. Homeless bribed with cash and drugs in exchange for registering to vote and signaling election petitions caught on tape undercover on Skid Row. Let's see. Weingard Center, which is in Skid Row, near Skid Row. And let me explain that Skid Row in LA, when I first moved to California almost 20 years ago, Skid Row was about 5 to 6 city blocks. It now covers 25 city blocks. And we haven't increased our homeless budget by hundreds of billions of dollars since I moved here. So you do the math on that one, if you can still do math. If you got educated in California, iffy. All right, here he says, Weingard Center, which received hundreds of millions of dollars in public funding, is on tape directing people to where the fraudulent petitioners are located, and directing homeless individuals to petitioners and coaching plausible deniability. See, they say ignorance is no excuse for the law, but a lot of times I have to say, I don't know. I have no idea. We encountered 28 instances of petitioners offering cash, cigarettes, and marijuana for signatures on petitions. Weingart employees advised, see, they say ignorance is no excuse for the law, but a lot of times I have to say I didn't know or I had no idea. So that's what they were telling James, some of the Weingart Center employees. They were saying, I tell them, no, I don't know what's going on out there. But of course, they do know what's going on out there because they direct these people right to where they go. It's all happening outside taxpayer-funded housing organizations. Weingart CEO earned $432,000 before resigning from the Los Angeles County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency. Give me something to throw. Everything's fake and gay. $500,000 that man makes for to solve the affordability crisis in LA. $500,000. James O'Keefe and the OMG team went undercover on Skid Row, posing as homeless individuals on cameras. Petitioners admitted they are paid $7 to $10 per signature, sometimes earning $1,000 or more a day. My son is a college graduate. He just graduated last year. And now he is scraping and scrimping to make a living in the state of California. And he's doing it because he's a good worker and a hard worker. We taught him the value of a good work ethic. But you imagine being Gen Z and having just scraped through 4 years of college and having to come home to a place like California where it doesn't look like there's a future for you and try to make your way knowing that the system is stacked against you. And you read something like this, that his tax dollars that he's working for literally right now, this second, are going to go to a man in LA who gets paid $500,000 a year to make sure that Angelenos can have affordable housing. But instead, that money's also going to get funneled through that organization that he leads, and it's going to go to pay homeless people in drugs, cigarettes, and cash to fake their votes, to vote for the policies that keep my son poor and unemployed and unable to afford a home of his own. Everything is fake and gay. So it is time. It is past time for us to no more diplomacy, no more niceness, no more kindness. Forget kindness. That's a buzzword now, like hate is. The left has completely bled all of the relativity out of those words. Forget it. We need to be real about where we are because we've got some real tough decisions to make going forward. And we don't want it to be like this. We don't want the border. We don't want to have to kick out your nanny who's been working for you for a decade. Yes, she's here illegally, but she's quiet and unassuming and she doesn't bother anybody. We don't want for it to be this way, but we didn't make it this way. So when you let problems go unaddressed or you cover it up with diplomacy or you're so pathetic and such a weak thinker, you'll vote for a black man for president just because he's black and you won't think anything about what he plans to do to you and your family, then that's where you got us. Okay? You got us here because you voted for that. People like me were out here telling you, don't do it. Don't do it. This man isn't who he says he is. The Democrats are not who they say they are. Look, I'm a black woman coming from the black community, and I had just seen with my own eyes what they've done to us. I'm not voting for them ever again. You don't do it either, and I can see it in this man. Not only do I know who he is, I know where he's from. You know, that's where my family came. That's where we came from. I mean, from. I'm using air quotes here. We know where he's from. We don't really know where he's from. But I didn't fall for it. You did. Okay, so you take your medicine now. We don't want it to be this way, but these are the uncomfortable conversations we're going to have to have. We're going to have it when it comes to mosques and Islam. I don't know what we do about that because this is a religious freedom thing. My ultimate opinion on this is that we need to come back to Christ. It's revival that will push out enemy religions in our nation. Revival will do that. And I believe we're well on our way to that. I believe that started after Charlie's death, and I believe we're well on our way to that. But I think we will have to come up with some legal solutions here, because the problem is getting bigger, and it's getting bigger because we're not allowed to talk about it. And we've been trained not to talk about it because everything's fake. And now it's probably gay too, right? Like, didn't you hear the new Ayatollah, for now in Iran, apparently he's gay, and that's a big deal. Well, let me prove it to you some more. I'm not just being flippant, right? I'm not just trying to piss off gay people. I mean, I'm never trying to piss off gay people. That's never my point. But I am just trying to be honest. Let's go to number 7. This is Mrs. Newsom, Jen Siebel Newsom. She's out there. I don't know why. I guess because Gavin's crashing out. Gavin Newsom has been crashing out since this fraud stuff started. He's back in the state. Not sure why. I guess the book tour ended. But he's back in the state, and he's been doing a little bit here and there. But listen, you should follow all of his accounts on X. They are absolutely crashing out. They don't know what to do. Every response they give is absolutely absurd, childish, and cringy. But speaking of absurd, childish, and cringy, for some reason, they've sent his wife out there to repair his image. And this is a woman who slept with Harvey Weinstein to become a filmmaker. I mean, it writes itself. So let's hear what Jen had to say recently.
California has a huge responsibility to lead. There's so much to learn from same-sex couples who have learned to communicate and who also are like, well, look, someone's got to do the care work in a same-sex male couple. Someone's got to do that. So I'm just going to do it. And this is and not be afraid or ashamed, because it's part of being human. We're all on a spectrum, right? It's just how society kind of pushes us and pressures us into these limiting gender roles. But again, the folks on the far right, they're missing is just this. They're living in this silo, this evangelical conservative silo that ultimately it's just pulling us back as a country to a time and a place where we don't deserve to be, and we're not going to be, because honestly, young women and fathers of daughters are awake now, and they're woke, and they're not going to let us go back. And so I have so much hope because of that. And obviously, California has a huge responsibility to lead. There's so much to learn from same-sex couples who have learned.
That's the governor of California's wife, and she's running to be not your first lady, everyone. She's running to be your first partner. We don't call her the first lady here. She's the first partner. She's running to be your first partner. Do you want that in the White House? Did they not see Kamala Harris's campaign? Have they not read the room? Everything's fake and gay. Literally what they're trying to do. We have a lot to learn. Look, and the issue at question, who cares? Go ahead, have your discussions about it. That's not my point. This is the wife of the man who wants to be the president of the United States, and we just litigated an entire election based on, well, one of two things: immigration and the idea that boys can't be girls and girls can't be boys. And parents are sick of having to pretend that that's true to appease some weird, sick perverts who for some reason are hell-bent on manufacturing a transgender industry, right? That I would like to call you back to the study on transgender mice. Why is that even a study? You think that's funny. But what I heard is that somebody actually thinks there's something there. Maybe it's all manufactured. Maybe none of it's real. Maybe everything is fake and gay for some reason. I mean, you know what I always think about? There's an episode of 30 Rock many years ago, great show. And Jack, that was Alec Baldwin's character, great character, was trapped in a secret bunker, a nuclear bunker with all of the top military brass. And some gas accidentally got released and it made them gay. It was a gas that made them gay. And it was a big joke. Come to find out, when Doge was doing their doging last year, one of the programs they uncovered was a study about gaseous substances that can change sexual desire. You just go look at the episode yourself. Yeah, I mean, you just look at all. You don't take anything I say as gospel, okay? Just a podcaster. Look it up for yourself. To hear Jen Siebel Newsom say that after what we have just gone through and what we are still going through, people are going to go to jail for what they've done to children. People are going to go to jail. A lot of us should be ashamed that we stood on the sidelines and clapped and cheered while we sent 13-year-old girls to get their breasts cut off and get skin cut off their arm and shaped into a fake rotting penis that can never be a real penis because no such thing exists for women. And now they're mutilated, infertile. Some of them, their voices have been permanently changed. And what did they learn at the end of their journey? You cannot change your sex. It's literally impossible. What a ridiculous thing to tell anybody, let alone a child. You can believe that, okay, but that's what she thinks. So she thinks of herself as a boy. Okay, fine. If all it takes is for you to think of yourself as a boy, then why do you have to cut off her boobs? Then why can't she just be a boy with boobs? Do you know what I mean? It's fake and it's gay. It's something is deeply, deeply wrong, but we're not thinking deeply enough about it. We're trained to stop at the label. And we're never allowed to look underneath it. And we haven't been for years. Some of us have been doing that work and we've been ostracized and censored for it and canceled. And some of us have careers that will never recover from being the person to tell the truth when no one else was telling the truth. But if you don't tell the truth about the little things right where you are, you will get to the situation where we are right now, where we've already mutilated thousands and thousands of children. We've already harmed thousands and thousands of families. We've already let in millions and millions of illegals. We've already suffered thousands and thousands of domestic terror attacks. We're no longer in a place where we can solve this with a simple vote or the good old American spirit. It's war. It's go time. Everything's fake. I actually no longer believe there's a legitimate Democrat presence in this country. I don't think that's true. I think anywhere a Democrat wins, they're lying. I think almost anywhere, I'll say almost anywhere a Democrat wins, I think at this point, it's fake. I don't think any of them are winning. And I think that is why they're digging in so hard to this TSA thing, which is completely out of nowhere, right? And here's the thing. They didn't plan on the war in Iran. When they started all this, we were still icing. You notice the celebrities didn't even have their ice out pins, right? At the Oscars, right? That's already gone because Trump was right. Get your hat out. Trump was right about everything. Trump was right. He drew down in Minnesota. He knew that, Tom Homan advised him because Tom's been doing this job a long time and he knew what to do. No, we're not drawing down. We're just taking the heat out so that the press leaves. If we're not there to cause all of this press, all the people are going to go away because they don't care. They don't care about Minnesota. They don't care about those people, right? Those are soldiers. They're not activists. That's why they all look the same. They have the same septum rings. They have the same haircuts. They're not the soldiers the way our soldiers are, but they all wear a uniform and you recognize them right away when you walk past them on the street, don't you? They're soldiers. It's a uniform. So this is a war. When you start looking at how they are purposefully squashing the truth and purposefully stealing our money to support their endeavors, you're going to understand why Democrats are digging in so hard, and they are going to take us all the way down. You mark my words. This time they don't care. That's how bad it is. And you should be grateful for that because that means they're losing. And this is a last ditch effort. This is Hail Mary time for them. If they get voter ID, they're never going to win again. Not for many years, not until, and they're starting to figure it out. Well, what they're doing now in some places is they're running as Republicans. And we've already seen that in California, or a great example is Texas. You ever wonder how Texas got so crazy? Why does Texas have a mosque problem? How are there so many mosques and now this epic city that they want to put up where they're trying to establish a city that operates under Sharia law, separate from American law? How can that happen in Texas? Well, Texas is a red state. If you want to win there, you tell people you're a Republican, and then you do the old switcheroo when you get into office. So that's another thing that's happening too. We always have to have watchers on the wall. You can't get comfortable. We made the mistake of thinking that America was so great, she didn't need any maintenance anymore. We'll let the soldiers stand on the wall. We'll let the politicians read the policies, and we'll just go about our day. And surely no one is going to steal from us or try to destroy this country, because it's a great country. And everyone who's here loves it the way I do. No, we got some really tough conversations coming up. I think a lot, even conservatives need to put on their big girl panties at this point. I think a lot of you are not prepared. You're still thinking we're living in like 2018. It was like still kind of a normal system. It was never normal, I guess, what we thought it was. We didn't know what we didn't know what we know now. We have been funding the enemy. We have been funding the destruction of America with our own tax dollars. While you try to scrape together an extra few hundred or few $1,000s a year to pay the tax man, they're coming to you with another ballot measure. And they're telling you, we need this tax because if you don't pass this, more people are going to die from homelessness, from drugs, from whatever. It is all fake. None of it's real. Every time they come to you with another thing, like, you need to do this to help people. And by the way, Californians are the most generous voters in America. Don't talk crap about us. We are the most generous voters in America. We vote for all of the taxes, for all of the homeless spending, for all of it. The needle, open drug markets and the needle exchanges. Every ridiculous notion about solving problems for people gets passed here in California, because at the heart of it, the California voters care. Even the dumb ones, they care. And they believe their politicians when they come to them and say, we need this tax so we can solve this. But go to Santa Monica. It's a ghost town. The only people there are homeless people. Go to DTLA. Downtown LA, it's only homeless people. Skid Row is downtown LA now. The greatest city in the world. This state has been absolutely destroyed by Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, and the Democrat agenda. Everything's been ground zero from here. I want to talk briefly about Trevor's project. Let's go to number one, Scott. Because here on the Orange Report, if you're not following us, by the way, the Orange Report is a show dedicated to giving you all the news and views you can use from around California and Orange County. And I'm merging it with my Kira Davis brand, because California news is national news. And here in California, remember, some of you have been with me for a long time, and you knew that in 2013, I was fighting the transgender curriculum that was coming into the schools. No one believed us. It was so crazy. Couldn't believe it. Now it's here and it's just normalized. And now Libs of TikTok is out there, right? And everything, I want you to know that everything you see on Libs of TikTok, we already were out there warning you about it in 2013. And that is why I want to encourage you. Even if you feel like no one is paying attention to your cause or what you're doing, say it anyway. Do it anyway. You know, we're glad. I'm not jealous or upset of Libs of TikTok. We're glad for that. The California Post is reporting on stuff that independent reporters have already been reporting on here in California for decades. But that's fine. Thank you, California Post. Sometimes you need the amplification. It's worth it if you do the work, even if you're not getting the credit, even if you're not getting the accolades. You go on record, because someday someone who does have the credit and the accolades will find that and use it to take it to the next level. And you can get a lot done when you don't care about the credit. So let's talk about this Trevor's Project thing. Trevor's Project is um, LGBTQ organization. You can look it up. I'm not going to explain it all to you. That's all you need to know for kids. And they had their, it's an NGO. It's an NGO. Okay. It's a charity. It's publicly funded. This literally is fake and gay. Literally. Because Trevor's project is based on the story of a young man. Was it Montana? Many years now, 30 years ago now, 25 years ago. It was a big deal at the time. He's a young gay man, and he ran in. The story is he was kidnapped or taken by these two redneck guys who beat him up because he was gay and, dumped his body. It was a brutal murder. Like nobody was innocent here, but it was a brutal murder. But it turns out that's not what it was. Everybody was gay and on drugs. And when the drug deal went bad, the gay perverts beat up the other gay pervert. That's what that was. So a fake story has now become this legend, and now it gets millions and millions of your tax dollars. And again, you don't have to believe me. You can simply look it up. And you can look it up from the left. It's left. There's a New York Times reporter who got canceled 2 years ago for writing about the Trevor Project. And he went to research the real story and came up with the real details and printed them and was fired. So this is we've covered it here on the Orange Report. You can go back and listen to, I think it's episode 2 or 3. You can go back and listen to it. Now in California, Trevor's project, they put the number of that on the back of all our student IDs now in California. And a student can call that number and get directed to a personal counselor who will talk to your kid about their sexuality and their sexual feelings and their romantic feelings and their gender identity. And you won't know. You won't know because that number is on the back of your child's ID card right now, and they have access to it right now. And a matter of fact, if you have a child 7 through 12, flip over the ID. If there's a QR code, follow it, and then follow it to Trevor's Space, which is the social media side of Trevor's project. That offers the kids all kinds of chat rooms that they can go to where they can meet with other people in the gender spectrum community. And we covered it. No lie. I have all the documentation, all the screenshots. By the way, the first thing you see when you log into Trevor's Project is a pop-up that tells you how to quickly exit out of Trevor's Project if your parents walk into the room. And then some of the chat rooms that are on Trevor's Space are things like there's a Satanist cult on there. And I mean, it's got like 1,000 members to it. There's the chosen family. That's the one you should be most disturbed about. This is the narrative coming through the public schools. Your family doesn't understand you. Our California Healthy Kids Survey sets up kids to be narcs on their family, to spy on their family. Ask them like, do your mom and dad support you? Do you feel supported? They set up your family as enemies. And this family, the LGBTQ family, that's your family. Chosen family. There's one for boys meeting boys, girls meeting girls. Sapphic love. Sapphic is a lesbian relationship between an older woman and a younger woman. And there's a spiritual aspect to it as well for kids. And the number to that is on the back of your California child's ID right now. So they're debating the same law in Colorado. And a young detransitioner, a young man, and this is the other thing that is so vile. This is a young man who was just gay, just struggling with that. And that has its own set of things, by the way. I don't think that's the natural state for anyone. But that's not the worst thing in the world. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely not something you should cut off a boy's penis for. And he was speaking on behalf of detransitioners like himself and saying Trevor's Project is scary. Don't do this. I want to play his testimony. Go ahead and play that.
On behalf of Cause, I oppose AB 1540. My name is Johnny Skinner. I was a gay kid who was harmed by LGBT-specific suicide prevention. As a teenager, I was on puberty blockers and estrogen. My physical development was arrested. I was isolated and bullied because my body stayed that of a child's. I was having thoughts of suicide because I didn't like anything about my body. My hatred of my body significantly worsened after I started sex-rejecting interventions. The doctors told me I was supposed to be a girl, so I viewed my male body as defective. I was in crisis, so I called the Trevor Project because that's what LGBT influencers online told me that's who you call. They were very nice at first, very affirming, but when I started talking about what was actually wrong, the side effects, the hormones, the blockers, my depression, they got very quiet, and then they hung up on me, a suicidal child. The world caved in and I cried myself to sleep that night. AB 1540 would route kids like me, kids in crisis, directly to organizations like the Trevor Project, an organization that believes children can be born wrong, an organization that doesn't want to hear about the harms of so-called gender-affirming care. In fact, they deny the harms even exist. I know what it is to be a lonely gay kid reaching out in the dark for someone to help. That kid deserves real help and holistic care. That kid deserves to be told the truth, not an ideology. Don't send the next kid to the people who abandoned me. Please vote no on AB 1540.
Yeah. Why have we ever, at all, under any circumstances, let grown adults look grown mothers like me in the eye and say, we want to keep your child a child. We think it's better if your child doesn't grow up. Under what circumstances would we ever accept that? There are no other circumstances. Why do we do it for this? Because it's fake concern and it's gay. There's something under the under. This is not just about civil rights. It's not just about accepting people for who they are. We did that just fine. I think I was making a point earlier and it was going to be brilliant and then I got distracted. But I did talk about when people ask me what time in America do you want to go back to, Kira, as a Black woman that was great for Black people? Let me tell you something, Jim Crow people. That's where I got distracted. Jim Crow was bad. We kicked it though, right? We did what we were supposed to do. So America did its job on all that and slavery. But Jim Crow was bad. But guess what wasn't bad? The Black family. In 1950, 81% of Black households were two-parent households. In 2026, that number is 12%. With marriage and two-parent households comes middle and upper class status. You can go and look at pictures. I mean, I'll look at pictures of my grandparents. They lived in a home in a neighborhood with white neighbors. You know, they were like normal middle class people. My granddad was in the military in the beginning, and they had a Black family. And you can see pictures of Black families going to church, all dressed up, even back in the MLK days. All dressed up, heading to church. If you walk into MLK's neighborhood where he was born today, are you going to see that? No. What happened? Don't lecture me about, when was America great, Kira? You want to take us back to slavery, Jim Crow 2.0? Well, I'll take the time when Black kids had two parents in their house. I'll take that. Black people, be suspicious of people who want to shame you for wanting the old days. When pretty much all of us had two parents and we're all educated. And yeah, we did have to fight this other beast, but then guess what? We did it. And they got us anyway. Isn't that amazing? It's like Black people are so powerful. The Black community is so creative, so powerful. We managed to kick a couple of the biggest challenges. You know, we didn't kick slavery. The white folks did that for us. Thank you. You can thank a white person, I guess. If we're going to make them responsible for reparations and all, why don't we make them, why can't they be responsible for the good parts too? You know what I mean? Thanks, white folks. And, but yeah, we kicked Jim Crow. We kicked our way into the education industry, into government, all of that. We did all that. And yet somehow we managed to end up worse off. How did that happen? Probably because everything's fake and gay. Follow me on X at Kira Davis. Follow the Orange Report, though. We're just getting that show up and running, and so we can use your follows over there. Please do. And then that helps us get our metrics up to get all the money from Elon that we can get. Thank you, Elon. We appreciate your money. Please continue giving it to us. Sign up for justkiradavis.com. You'll see all the things I'm doing over there. All right, tonight's the last night you can vote on Journey to Christmas Land March Madness. We're making the perfect Hallmark movie over on my Cheesy TV Christmas movie podcast with Amelia Hamilton. And we are doing we're up to our final four. So we've got, you can choose from the final four: best actor, best actress, favorite plot device, and best trope. So it's like, in every cheesy Christmas movie, there's a snowball fight or decorating the Christmas tree or cookie decorating. You pick. So we're at the end here. Live results show is tomorrow, Friday, on Substack. Find Journey to Christmas Land, journeytochristmasland.substack.com. Go look that up and sign up for all the things. But we're having so much fun. One of our favorite actresses, Jen Lilly, shared the podcast yesterday, shared the March Madness. So she's getting a flood of votes today. But if you watch Hallmark and you like Lacey Chabert or Danica McKellar, I suggest you get over there and vote for them, because Jen Lilly is advocating for herself big time. And it's really, we know it's all about the lobbying, folks. What else do I have to show you, to sell you? Get my book, Drawing Lines, Why Conservatives Must Begin to Battle Fiercely in the Arena of Ideas, of course. Yeah, sign up for the Orange Report and watch out for our dubbed Gavin Newsom series. We've been dubbing, I'm dubbing Gavin Newsom, and it's really fun. He's a very expressive guy, so it's sort of fun to dub like what I think he's really saying. So when you see those videos, share them, like them, all that good stuff. Tomorrow is Friday. We don't do a live show on Fridays, but we will do a traditional format. It'll be an hour-long program, a wrap-up of the week with a little bit of new information for the locals. That's the Friday show, is for the locals crowd. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. Listen, sunlight is the best disinfectant. So until we see each other again, bring on the sunshine. Peace.